We are live. My name is Cody Dees with Visit Champaign County, and I have Kristen right beside me. Kristen, go ahead and introduce who you are.
Hi, I'm Kristen Williamson with the NCSA Public Affairs.
Right, and Kristen and I are at the National Petascale Computing Facility at the University of Illinois. Now, we talk a lot about our outside of ordinary experiences that exist here in Champaign County, and we couldn't do that without the innovation and technology that lies here in Champaign County. So what are we going to start off with first?
Well, first we're going to go and say hi to Ed Seidel, who's the director of NCSA, to hear a little bit about what happens at NCSA, its vision, its goals, and how it's contributing to the University of Illinois and Champaign County.
Perfect. Let's get started.
Okay. Hi, Ed. Can you go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, Kristen. Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Seidel. I'm the director of the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, or NCSA as we call it, and we're here at the National Petascale Computing Facility, which is home of one of the largest supercomputers in the world. We'll hear more about that in a minute, but it's an example of the kind of things we do here, right here in Champaign and on the campus that people around the world wish they could do. This is the only place in the world that can do the kind of things we do.
Ed, NCSA is currently celebrating 30 years here at the University of Illinois. Can you share a little bit about what NCSA has achieved in that time and where we're going to go on the next year?
Sure. So we are celebrating our 30th anniversary, and we started back in 1986, 30 years ago, when at the time a young assistant professor named Larry Smarr had a very bold vision for the way computational science needed to be done in the country and, in fact, around the world. And so he wrote a proposal to the National Science Foundation that led to the creation of 5 national centers, and NCSA was the first of those. And we're still here today serving not only the scientific and engineering communities across the country, but also across the world, allowing them to address problems that they couldn't otherwise do, but also bringing back value to industrial America and international companies as well. So within the first year, a full-page ad was placed in the Wall Street Journal to start a program on industrial competitiveness, and so we've had a private sector program that we've recently expanded in what we call NCSA Industry, where many companies from around the state and around the world actually work with us to do things that they can't do back home in their home institutions.
And recently, NCSA rolled out a vision for what the next 30 years would look like. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we've been here for 30 years, and we're looking forward to another 30 years and beyond. We have reorganized ourselves in the last couple of years since I've come on board as the director to, first of all, focus on what we've been excellent at for many, many years now, for 3 decades, around high-end computing to attack the greatest problems that face science and engineering and across many other areas of research in the humanities as well. Also, we have organized ourselves to be much better integrated with the university and the university community. We have members from across the campus and dozens of departments that do work with us, looking at everything from video game technologies to advanced visualization to astrophysics and crop sciences. We have people who use our supercomputers and our staff. We have over 200 expert staff. The best in the business are here, and they work with people to do things that they couldn't do otherwise. For example, modeling how to get a better yield out of crops, and that's very important for us in our community. And then we've also worked very hard to expand out the programs that allow us to bring back value to our community, specifically around economic development and industrial competitiveness.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Cody, now we're going to meet with Bill Kramer, who's the head of the Blue Waters Project.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Kramer, and I'm the director of the Blue Waters Project here at NCSA. Blue Waters is the most powerful supercomputing system on an academic campus. It's housed in this building, which is also the most powerful or unique facility on an academic campus anywhere in the world. We manage and help a variety of scientists use Blue Waters to do things that they cannot do on any other computer system in the world. And this is modeling simulation for things like how the galaxies evolve, how bacteria and viruses infect cells, and as Ed mentioned, also how crops are designed and systems are manufactured. Blue Waters is also the most intense data system in the world, so it combines not just computation, but data and analysis for doing things that can't be done elsewhere. For example, figuring out the elevation of the polar regions from satellite data is one of the unique things that is going on with Blue Waters. It is a project that is not just about the computing system, but about making people productive using the computing systems in the world, and also education and training for many, many students. So we've had about 2,000 people use the system. Half are students who use the system and are learning how to do high-performance computing.
Fantastic. Now, Bill, we're going to go see the actual machine today, and we're fortunate enough to have some staff members. Could you talk a little bit about the team that makes the Blue Waters project happen every day and how they support our users?
Sure. We have a team of very expert people that range from people who will help the scientists use the system, very detailed activities about how to program the system, how to program and use the entire system. So Blue Waters is one of the unique systems where you can actually use the entire system to solve a single problem. We have science teams do that. But that takes very complicated programming and a lot of skill at making things work efficiently. Other members of our team also are experts in how you run a system, how do you get the system to do the right thing at the right time, how do you have the data flow in and out of the system, networking, cybersecurity, and all the other skills that we need to make the system very productive and effective for our scientists. But more than half of our staff are directly involved with the science teams, trying to make them as productive as they can in using the system to do science that they can't do anywhere else.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Cody. Well, now we're going to go and talk with Dan Lapine, who's a member of the Blue Waters team and is very familiar with the facilities here at MPCF. Hi, Dan. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dan Lapine. I lead our Scientific Computing Services Division. I've been here since 2001. So we run the supercomputers, basically. And today we're going to get a chance to look at 4 separate supercomputers upstairs, Blue Waters of which is the crown jewel. If you're not sure what a supercomputer is, you could think about it in terms of your home computer times, say, 30,000.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. We're going to give viewers watching from home a little tour of the first floor. Now, there's some areas of the building where we're going to lose signal. So if you're watching at home, follow NCSA on Twitter, NCSA at Illinois, and they'll be showing some behind-the-scenes footage of some of the areas that we can't go into today. So, Dan, do you want to go ahead and give us a tour of the ground floor?
Sure. And as Kristen said, we're not going to go too far in simply because we'll lose signal. So I don't know if you can see the nice long corridor, but that gives you a real idea of the perspective, the size of the building. On the left side, we have our electric power distribution system, and we have our water distribution for cold water cooling. At the far end, you can even see the pallets full of equipment at our shipping yard. So nothing too fancy there. What is interesting is the power that we bring into the building is over 24 megawatts. So we need a connection both to the local power station at Abbott and to Ameren Electric, just to make sure we have enough electricity to cover all the systems. Right now, the Blue Water system pulls about half that power by itself. So fairly impressive. The cold water that we get, we'll show you later, but basically we draw in enough cold water to fill up a 2-foot pipe each way, coming back and forth from campus to the systems and back out. And we'll see that upstairs a little bit later. There's a nice clear spot in our machine room where you can look under the floor. Yeah, we'll go upstairs now. So we're located across from the assembly hall on campus, and if you drive by at night, there's a nice blue wall behind us. We'll see it as we go upstairs. That lights up, so you know we're next to Blue Waters.
Let me get a nice shot of the lobby real quick. It's a beautiful building. There's that monumental blue building there. Wow.
What's nice is at the top, there's a door we can close in case of bad weather, so that if we had a tornado, the glass here might blow out, but the rest of the computers will be protected. This is our visitor center that we have here, so that we have an opportunity to talk to people outside the noisy machine room, and we have several people that you'll get to talk to today. Yeah, let's start with Brett.
All right, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what makes Blue Waters Blue Waters. So this is a node board out of the Blue Water system. We have quite a few node boards out there. So each blade here, like this, has 4 individual nodes. Each node has 2 processor sockets and some memory. And these are basically just like you'd have in a high-end server, even like a PC you'd have at home, just maybe a higher-end processor. Each processor has 16 cores, and we have 64 gigs of memory per node. So it's a bit high-end, but more or less off the shelf. Then you take 4 of those on a board, and you connect them with a special Cray-specific interconnect called a Gemini chip that creates what's called a 3D torus. If you don't know what a 3D torus is, just imagine a cube of nodes with nodes interconnected. You just wrap the edges. And that lets you build a very scalable interconnect, which is really the heart of a supercomputer. You have to be able to talk from one node to another very quickly anywhere within the network mesh. And that's what this does. By having a node board that has a fixed dimension of connections per node of 6, so one in each direction, in the 6 Cartesian directions, you can build a very large system. And indeed, our system is very large out there, as you can see. When you take 8 of these, stick them in a chassis vertically, and then take 3 chassis per rack, which is what we have behind us out there, and then multiply that by 288 racks, that gives us Blue Waters. So that's a total of about 26,000, or a little almost 27,000 compute nodes, and the largest 3D torus that Cray's ever built at 24 by 24 by 24. When we go out there and look at the racks, we'll actually be able to see that. We have 24 racks in a row, in a row there. We have 24 nodes within a cabinet, which is the dimension, and then we double up since we have 2 nodes per chip in the Y direction. We have 12 rows out there on the floor. So that's what really makes Blue Waters sing. And in aggregate, it gives us a very large system with over, like I said, 27,000 nodes, over 700,000 integer cores, and over 1.6 petabytes of RAM, which makes it one of the most capable and systems on the planet. And indeed, the memory is the largest of any system that we know about on the planet. So a very capable computer indeed. Let's see. In addition to these nodes, as we go out there on the floor, we'll open up a cabinet and take a look at the front. Some of the nodes do have extra connections on the front end edge of them that let us connect out to the outside world. And that lets us get to our storage system very quickly. We have one of the most capable storage systems on the planet, capable of reading and writing 1 terabyte per second. And that is enabled through the connections to this compute fabric through those extra nodes. It also lets us talk to outside connections to, whether it be at NCSA, be at University of Illinois, or around the world through one of our high-speed networks that our network team will show you in a little bit. Should we go on out to the floor now? So we'll go on out into the machine room. It gets a little noisier out there, although hopefully you'll be able to hear us fine through the microphone. So basically, the system is rows of racks. At the end of each row, we have chilled water handlers that basically just chill water in the bottom, convert it to a 430 bar refrigerant, which is what the stainless steel pipes out of the top. Then that goes out to each rack, and there's one big fan at the base of each rack that blows air up through the rack. That's what makes all the noise. So if you notice in that compute blade, there was no moving part. So the only moving part in each rack out there is that fan. And that enables us also to get a large degree of reliability because there's very few components in the rack. We look at the front end of a cabinet. It does look pretty boring. Most of the blades don't have any connections to the outside. We have one here, one blade that could have. This one doesn't happen to have any connections to it, but it could have slots in there to do the outside connections. We'll now go to the back end of the system, and we'll take a look at the back end of a cabinet. So, stick through here. And the back end of a cabinet, open this door up, it's a little more interesting. So from the backside, you can see more of the network connectivity. There's a maze of cables in there, and those are the high-speed interconnects that make up that 3D torus. You can't really see the Z dimensions within the rack, but you can kind of make out the cables that go across down the rows here, which is the X dimension, and then the cables that go up over the top, which get us the Y dimension. The other parts at the back of the cabinet are the power components. So we can see right at the bottom is the one power cord for each rack. That takes about 100 amp current at 480 volt AC power. Takes it to these AC to DC voltage converters that provide the actual power in the cabinet. And this system then is where all the compute is done, and then that compute has to be stored somewhere to be useful. And so the system as we progress over, we have a lot of data movers, and then all the rows labeled to Nexion are the spinning disk components. I think this is where I hand off to Michelle, who's our lead storage person, to talk about the disk.
Hi, I'm Michelle Butler. I'm in charge of all the storage environments here at NCSA. And I'm going to tell you about the storage systems for the Blue Waters system. There's 31 petabytes of raw disk here on this environment. There is divided into 3 different file systems. 2 are 2 petabytes in size, and then one of the world's largest file system is 21 petabytes, and that's the number that Brett gave you, was a terabyte per second. Every single one of these drawers is extremely compact. If you look at every single one of these cabinets, each one of those blue drawers has 84 disks in them, and there are 4 rows of each one of those. This is where the science actually really gets stored. Users put data on the scratch file systems at 21 petabyte area, and then compute on it from the Blue Waters system, and then move out of that environment. We also have 78 systems of the orange cables across the top are showing the cabinet where those 78 systems are that are dedicated just to moving data in and out of the storage systems on the Blue Waters machine. And to move the data in and out, you need networking. So I'm going to introduce you to the networking expert. Doing networking. Bill? Bill's going to do networking. Bill Kramer.
So another part of the Blue Water system is the networking that we use. That is also one of the most intense networking systems in the world, at least in the open academic research space. If you look over here, these are our routers and switches. So not only do the entire systems have to be connected together for networking to move data back and forth, but we also have to have the data go out to the rest of the world. So here at NPCF, we are connected to the rest of the world at 400 gigabits per second. That's faster than any backbone in the world. So we actually are never going to be the bottleneck for anybody moving data to us or us moving data to them. And since almost all the people who use Blue Waters are not in this building, as a matter of fact, all the people, they're around the country and indeed around the world, we have to be as networked as any place else. So this is a unique facility, not only because of the ability to have machines, but also the networking, 400 gigabits. And then we have to tie all the machines together here to move data back and forth between the machines and to the storage system that you just heard about. The other thing that we have to do is make sure that we're protected from people trying to attack us or viruses or things. That'll be the next stop. You'll hear about that.
Hi, Jim. Go ahead. Okay, I'm James Irick. I'm manager of the security operations team. I'm going to talk about our cyber infrastructure. So NCSA, in order to maintain our fast network connection and not be a speed bump, we have no external firewalls between our supercomputers and the internet. Instead, what we do is we use a technology called TAPAG. Every fiber optic cable that comes into the building, we split the light off and we send it into the system over here. So we have over, in the bottom here, we have over a terabit per second of fiber optic cable being tapped and split. This system takes all the data, puts it all together, and then it sorts it out and separates it into smaller streams that our Bro IDS cluster can absorb, because each member can't handle all of our traffic. So we have 8 in a production system and 4 for development. That way we can test new code without causing any problems to the production system, and we can do upgrades and things without losing our security stance for the network traffic. Is that good? All right.
Now, Dan, we're going to turn it back to you to talk to us a little bit about the LSST rack.
Oh, okay, great. So these, and this is actually good because you can see what a standard cluster might look like. This is part of the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, or LSST, and their mission is to survey the entire universe with a very large telescope down in Chile. And every 3 days, they can see the whole universe. So over time, basically, they're making a movie of the universe. The nice part is that they send us data every night, and we will do analysis and work on the data to get information about what's different or new that we've never seen before. This is kind of small now, but these guys plan to be in business for 15 years. And unlike the rest of the supercomputers we have in the building, this one is specific purpose. They'll do different things with it, but it's just for that one project. So then the other thing we might talk about is the floor and the infrastructure. So I'm not sure what the best viewing angle is, but we've got some nice clear plastic tiles here that you can see what's under the floor. That very large black pipe is that water feed that I talked about, where we're bringing in thousands of gallons of water a minute to cool off blue waters. The metal racks would hold cables, power and network cables on each layer, so we can track to see what cables are going to what. And the one thing I'd point out that's really cool is we have grounding cables on these, but our ground, because of so much power, is a 1/2 inch of copper. So not like just a little skinny wire, it's fairly serious. You'll also notice we're standing on a raised floor, and it's 6 foot tall, and I can actually stand underneath it and not have my head hit it. I'm a little tight nowadays, but I could stand down there.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Rush. I'm here to introduce Roger, the first cyber GIS supercomputer. So I should probably back up and explain what that is. GIS is Geographic Information Science. And in that, we study how to use data that varies across space. And that could be anything. It could be physical data like the terrain or climate, or it could be social or economic data. Then cyber GIS is learning how we can leverage that data on advanced cyber infrastructure, like Roger. So Roger is resourcing open geospatial education and research. And we're using Roger to figure out how to do these kind of analyses on these really big systems, how to, say, leverage many, many years of satellite data, or how to do really advanced analyses like how to locate the best places to grow crops, how to best transport them, and how to best locate the refining facilities to, say, make lots of biofuel to meet our future energy needs. Roger's a really unusual system because GIS data is very data heavy, and so we configured each computing node with lots of local memory, and we have a really big, really fast parallel file system. So this is 5 petabytes of storage, all in spinning hard drives, which is about 1 million DVDs. And so our processing to data ratio is way different than a lot of other supercomputers. And finally, we use it in 3 different ways. So you can log in, submit your job, and wait for it to finish like all the rest of the systems. We also support the Hadoop paradigm you may have heard of, and the cloud. So very happy to introduce you to Roger.
Back to me again, storage environments, yay! So this is the nearline system I'm going to introduce you to. The nearline system is connected to those 78 systems that help move data in and out of the Blue Water system. In the nearline system, there are 4 libraries, tape libraries. They're actually robots, and I'll show you one at the very end. The cabinet is actually open, so you'll be able to get a really good look at it. Each one of these systems has 19,000 slots. So every single one of the 4 has 19,000 slots. There are 4 libraries, and this is the one that's actually open. And each one of these libraries has 19,000 slots to hold on to this 4 terabyte drive. Each one of those little white cabinets here, I'm going to stick my hand in here before there's a robot. Here comes a robot. There's 2 of them in each one of these libraries. Each one of these plastic containers has the cassette basically like that right there, and it holds 9 of these tapes. Each one of these tapes has 4 terabytes of user data on it. So there's about 300 petabytes of raw data in these 4 libraries. Each one of these libraries has 2 robot arms. It comes and picks up this cassette, this container of the 9 tapes, takes it all the way down to where the tape drives are, and then it mounts the tapes individually into the actual drive. Every single one of these libraries has 61 tape drives each, so there's 244 tape drives individually mounting all the users' data, moving data from our nearline system to the Blue Water system, or even out to where the users want to actually permanently put their data, whether that be here or at another allocation, or where their data archives actually go. Okay?
Thank you, Michelle. Cody, now we're going to go over and see the third supercomputer here at NGCF, iForge, which is used by industry partners that we work with to solve grand challenges that most companies can't solve at scale in their own organization. So the first person we're going to talk to is Scott Wilkin, who's the head of our Economic and Societal Impact Unit here at NCSA. Hi, Scott. Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Hey, can you go and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about the Economic and Societal Impact Directorate here at NCSA and how it fuels the NCSA industry program.
Okay, will do. Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Wilkin. I'm the Director of Economic and Societal Impact here at NCSA. We're standing in front of iForge right now, which you can tell by the sign. It's pretty easy. But why don't we take the camera around this way so we can actually see it? So one of the things that we've done at the university is, you've got to see the massiveness here of what Blue Waters is and how we can do huge science and help industry in large-scale ways. What this is actually a machine that was built for industry with University of Illinois money, not NSF money, and we actually keep it at the cutting edge of technology all the time. So for industry to make real economic impact, we have the ability to basically share the equipment across our whole portfolio of customers, which are from Caterpillar to Agrable, who I've got one of our members here today, Chris Harbaugh. But the thing that I wanted to Chris to talk about more was not so much that we have this great equipment, it's the people that we have here at NCSA that help you. So, Chris, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, no, thanks, Scott. So, Agrable, we build and create models and grow virtual plants, and that's how we use systems. But as Scott said, one of the most important advantages for us here, being in Champaign, being right next to this facility, our office is literally across the street. It's the people, it's the interactions. We can go to lunch, we can meet people, we can talk about the things that are going on, and that's such a force multiplier in terms of what we're able to do and how we're able to engage technology, really work on some interesting projects.
Yeah. So if you were to say across NCSA, you've got people that run OpenStack, or we could share that kind of technology with you, this kind of technology. What is it about the people that make it go for you?
Yeah, so for us, it's a mix. We're here in a community that's surrounded by agriculture. So Scott, for example, his family farms, so he gets what we're doing, and understands what we're up to. But, in terms of the technology and what we're able to do, scale is a big part of our business. Being able to scale to different parts of the U.S., being able to scale globally, and this is scalable infrastructure. This is at the heart of what we can do, how we can grow things, how we can do the next best thing for agriculture globally. So.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
So as far as the other things we do for industry, beyond just the folks, we have storage capability, we have our compute capability, we have our people consulting capabilities. We also have internships that we can do with our industry partners. It just goes on and on, the things that we can do to help actually make an economic impact for Illinois and for the nation. So part of what we do as a land-grant university is to help our company. So that's what we're here for. So I'm going to turn back to Chris.
Thank you, Scott. We're going to go back over to Dan,
So I don't know if you can see it, but if you look that way, you get the whole machine room. We've got about 20,000 square feet of room in here and plenty of room to add other systems as we go forward. We're going to head back over towards the area where we came before, and I apologize, I'll walk backwards. One of the things I like to note as we go past this way is that when I bring a tour in, we'll have 20 or 30 people with us, and we talked earlier about how fast the file systems transfer data. One of the things that goes on is that if 20 people are walking by with a hard drive, by the time we get to the other end, they'll all be full. They said that we've got the Twitter feed for the infrastructure. Do we have the camera open? Is that open for the public? The camera that we have for the... Yeah? Yeah, so we do have a webcam that shows the status of the machine room. So when we talked about the cooling for Blue Waters, we said we've got the water pipe. The water goes to the little racks on the left, and then they use refrigerant across the chrome pipes, and then they cool off the stuff on the other side. The water that's coming in, we can actually generate our own chilled water. The building has some cooling towers built in at the far end. And so what happens is when the weather outside is cold enough, we can actually make our own cold water and save a lot of money on operating costs. We weren't going to do that initially, but a senior design class at the university came up with the proposal while we were doing the design of the building, and they said, look, if you do this, you'll save a lot of money. And we investigated, and they were right. So that was kind of nice. I don't know if the mic picks it up or not, but there's a lot of noise right here. Before we go over and talk to the scientists, we'll take just a moment to look at our operations center. So over here, we have our 24-hour operations center. And what happens is that we'll have anywhere from 1 to 4 people who are here to act as a help desk. We do help desk for the NCSA systems. We do first-line response for some of the campus services, especially after hours. And we support the Exceed supercomputer grid. My guys handle over 18,000 tickets a year, and they're the frontline support, and they can handle about 20% without having to take it to a scientist or a senior researcher to fix the problem. So that's kind of nice. It's a big savings for us overall, and then it keeps the scientists and the researchers focused on stuff they need to do. I think we're going to go to Bill Grout next.
Okay. So one of the questions I was asked to tell you about is who uses Blue Waters. And I should say maybe first, I'm Bill Grout, the chief scientist for NCSA and one of the principal investigators for Blue Waters. And so this machine, this facility provides computer services to scientists and engineers doing research all over the country. It's allocated in large part by the National Science Foundation for researchers at research institutions all over the country. A significant amount of time is available and allocated by Illinois for its researchers because we've provided this facility and a lot of the support to make it happen. We also have a partnership called the Great Lakes Consortium for Petascale Computing, which has partners in our area that also are able to access the system. The way they do that is that they write a proposal that clearly describes what sort of critical, difficult problem they're trying to solve, how they're going to solve it so that they can explain why it is that Blue Waters is the appropriate way to do it. And then that's reviewed by experts, experts both in the science, so that we can look and see whether is this problem really this important, are they trying to solve it the right way. And it's also reviewed by people who are experts in the computational techniques so that they can check to make sure that they're going to make good use of the system. In the case of the National Science Foundation, after those reviews are made, they go to a program manager who makes the final decision. A relatively small number of teams are then awarded a large amount of time, enough time to do things that can't be done anywhere else. In the case of the Illinois researchers, we still allocate, in many cases, very large blocks of time, more time than is often available to a university researcher to do the sorts of science that's only possible in a machine like this. In terms of the sort of things that are done on this system, scientists are looking at things, everything from the makeup of the basic particles of matter, in fact there's one of the equations over here about that, to the evolution of the universe. Broadly, they're looking at maybe two kinds of problems. There are problems where you can't perform an experiment. You know, we only have one universe. It's not like you can go start another one and see how it evolves. So what we do have is, well, we believe, an understanding of the basic physics. And we can then simulate using those equations and see if we see the same sort of statistical properties that we observe in our universe. The other place where we often use computing is where it's not possible to do the experiments for ethical or cost or other reasons like that. In some cases, they're impossible for other reasons. So one project we have is called the computational microscope. That's done by a professor here at the University of Illinois. It looks at molecules, collections of molecules that arise in biology in a way that is not possible with any other means. And so you can, with this, do things like understand how the HIV capsid, a capsid is a protein coat, sort of the thing that protects the virus, the thing that you want to attack if you want to attack the virus. And so by using these sorts of tools, we can gain this kinds of insights that aren't possible in any other way. Some of the other examples of work that's going on, one is to understand the effects of earthquakes, which means first figuring out what the subsurface conditions are. It's not like you can go down and look at all of them. So you have to solve what's called an inverse problem. These are very computationally difficult. Once you've done that, then you have to try to figure out what would happen if there were earthquakes in different places. Based on that, you can start trying to decide where you should build or not, how you should build, and so forth. That's one example. There are other examples that are much more fundamental, trying to look at understanding fluid turbulence, the sort of chaotic behavior of fluids. Once you understand that, you can start understanding other processes that involve turbulent flow. You might be able to use that turbulent flow to engineer other new processes. And there are a lot of things like that that are done on this system. We have a big book that shows a lot of those examples.
So we're very pleased that you were able to tour Blue Waters with us. You heard about the science from Bill and others. You heard about the system. Oh, more science to come. Okay. Do you want me to talk about other things or? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just getting much.
Hi, my name is Eliu. I am the leader of the Relativity Group at NCSA and also of a newly formed LIGO group. And maybe you have heard about this in the news recently. LIGO is the collaboration that detected gravitational waves, and we are members of that collaboration. So we have a group in NCSA. Of course, this group not only has people from NCSA, but we bring together expertise from many departments at the University of Illinois, including the departments of astronomy and physics, electrical and computing engineering, and computer science.
Can you talk a little bit about the significance of the gravitational wave and how it works?
Yeah, sure. So gravitational waves, according to the theory that Albert Einstein created about 100 years ago, are emitted when objects like black holes collide. Now, we cannot see these waves because they are not in the optical spectrum. They are not like light. They exist in a different spectrum that we call the gravitational wave spectrum. Now, to see these events, we need to use special detectors like the LIGO detectors. Why is this so exciting? Well, because in the past, we never saw two black holes colliding. For many people, these were just mathematical concepts. something that is in the minds of astrophysicists. Now we know that black holes do exist. Not only that, they form binaries and they even collide, and we have detected many of them. And it is surprising that, you know, in these many assumptions that we made as physicists, we never thought that black holes would be as massive as 30 times the mass of the sun. That's really exciting, and we managed to detect these events, give them physical reality, and convince people that these objects are outside in the universe. And obviously, to find these events, you need to use large data sets that the LIGO collaboration gathers. But then finding the signatures of these events in the data is like looking for a needle in a haystack. But a needle, we know how it looks like. What about the signature of a collision of two black holes? It's too hard. We need to solve Einstein's equations, and to do that, we use blue waters.
Thank you, Eliu. In addition to researchers and professors who are using blue waters and other resources here at NCSA, we also have students, and Sam is a student in material sciences. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with blue waters and what you're hoping to solve?
Absolutely. So I'm an undergraduate in material science. I'm going to be a senior, and I'm working with the Blue Waters team. I work with the people who take care of the computer, make sure that its resources are available to all the domain experts that actually use it to do science. And this summer I've worked on developing a tool that'll make it easier to figure out what went wrong when stuff breaks inside of the computer on the software side. And so the whole idea is just to make sure that these incredible resources are available to all of the people who are doing cutting edge science around the world.
Sam, can you tell us a little bit about how, as a student, you learned about the Blue Water Student Program and how you got involved?
Yeah, so I realized pretty early on in my undergrad education that traditional material science is really on the way out. It used to be a lot of trial and error, just sort of shooting in the dark that, oh, we think this might work and we might be able to make something new out of this. And that approach is not a 21st century approach at all. It's very time consuming, very expensive, and a lot of companies are really making groundbreaking technological jumps by simulating materials. And so I realized that was really what I wanted to go into and really sort of where the world's moving towards. And so my sophomore year, I worked with a professor doing simulations, not on Blue Waters, but on a smaller campus cluster. It had more on the order of 100 cores. But that really gave me my first intro to high-powered computing. And then when I found out that the NCSA had positions available, I knew that I wanted to work on Blue Waters.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to talk with AJ and Kalina, who are members of our scientific visualization team. We'll go ahead and pass it over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what is scientific visualization?
And just to quickly introduce ourselves, I'm AJ Christensen, and
I'm Kalina Borkiewicz.
And so we work on sort of high-resolution cinematic treatments of supercomputer data for public outreach.
So I guess to answer your question in a general sense, science visualization is taking vast amounts of data from supercomputer simulations, like the one here, and turning it into images and videos. And there's a few different reasons for doing this and a few different ways of doing it. One of them is for purposes of teaching the general public about science. So you see some videos behind me. Here is an example of a cinematic treatment we did of supercomputer data, where the visualizations like this end up in TV shows, documentaries, museums, or on the internet, with the purposes of, just teaching the average person about science. And I suppose the other type is where the audience is actual scientists. Because when you run a supercomputer simulation, the output of that is just vast amounts of data, which you can't look at and make any sense of. So in that sense, visualization is kind of a way to analyze and discover things in your data.
So just kind of talking about some of the different things that our group has done here at the Supercomputing Center, we've worked on a lot of astrophysics visualizations. We're working through a grant called Cadence to try and bring a lot of the most cutting-edge supercomputer simulations to the general public through these kinds of imagery. So we've done astrophysics, we've done climate. We're working with a plant science community now on a project called Crops in Silico to visualize their data as well.
AJ, can you share a little bit about the opportunities for the public to come view your work at NCSA?
Sure. Yeah, so a lot of our work is available already in science centers around the country. We work on digital dome shows for planetarium domes that get distributed all over the world. And we recently completed an IMAX film that is playing pretty much in IMAX science centers everywhere called A Beautiful Planet. Do you want to talk about like the center here?
Sure, and actually at the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, we have a demo room where we have a 4K theater with a big couch where we bring in audiences ranging from researchers around the university to visiting ones to, little kids, and we demo some of our science and, talk about the science behind it and how we make the visuals to kind of just teach broad audiences about high-performance computing and science.
One opportunity for the public to see some of your work is starting in September on Friday and Saturday nights. Solar Superstorms is going to be playing at the Starkville Planetarium at Parkland College. Could you tell a little bit about that film and why people should come out and see it?
Sure. So to give you some backstory, well, you're actually seeing some scenes from Solar Superstorms behind us right now. I forget the numbers, but every 100 or 200 years, a massive solar superstorm tends to hit Earth, which is terrifying, actually seeing that happen behind us. And this is kind of a show that goes over what happened in the 1800s during the Carrington event when this happened last time, and it kind of goes over the science of what causes a solar superstorm and kind of encourages people to, take action against getting ourselves ready for the next one. And solar superstorms was actually shown to Congress a few weeks ago, and they passed a bill to fund space weather research. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just to kind of follow up on that, what you'll see in the film then will be simulations all the way from, the surface of the sun to diving under the near surface, which is actually a simulation that was run here on the Blue Waters supercomputer by Bob Stein. You'll see the magnetic convection just below the surface. We go all the way to the core of the sun. We come out and see a coronal mass ejection. All of these are different supercomputer simulations that have been combined together into sort of one narrative telling that story. So.
Thank you very much. All right. Bill, if you'd like to come back up here, we had a few questions come in. And one is, we're wondering if you could talk about the Illinois allocation process. If a researcher here at Illinois is interested in using Blue Waters, could you talk a little bit about the process?
Sure. We have a call for proposals to get time several times a year, essentially aligned with the academic calendar. They write a short proposal. Like I discussed, it talks about the science that they're going to try to do, why it's appropriate to do it on Blue Waters, how much resources they're going to need. And then that's reviewed, and if it's a good proposal, they'll be awarded the time that they need to perform that work. I should also mention that when we're talking about Blue Waters, it's not just the machine. There's a staff that supports the people who use the system, primarily the NSF users, but also the Illinois users. It's a very important part of making sure that the system is well used.
So there's another aspect of Illinois allocation, and it's called the Blue Waters Professors. So there are about 20 professors at the university that have that title, including Dr. Grapp. And they also have an allocation of time that they can use more or less at their discretion without having to make large proposals. What they do is they report on what they've done, and if it's good, then they'll continue to get that time throughout the life of Blue Waters.
And the sort of research that they do covers really the gamut of things that we've seen. You've seen the work that's done on visualization. There's a lot of work that's done on material science, fundamentals of fluid flow, of molecular biology, many other topics. And so the opportunities to use the machine and to work with other people who are using the system to do similar problems is just unmatched.
All right, Cody. Well, I think this is the end of our tour. What we do want to do is invite the public to come see NPCF or visit NCSA's Visualization Lab. At any time, there's a request form. You can go to ncsa.illinois.edu. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Here at Visit Champaign County, we take pride in giving you the outside of ordinary. And actually, I think I heard the phrase outside of this world today. NCSA brought that to you, and we're so proud to have that here in Champaign County. For more information about scheduling a tour for NCSA's supercomputer, you can go to their website and fill out the necessary information. For more information on Champaign County and for outside of ordinary experiences, please go to visitchampaigncounty.org.